So, your father finally kicked the bucket, huh? He was such a kind father. I really loved him. Never mind. Now we can finally get the inheritance, huh? Maybe we should go on a trip somewhere? That sounds wonderful. Let's use the money for a family trip to maybe France? While I cry in sadness, not receiving a single word of kindness. They joyously think they can inherit everything. I told them a shocking fact. Huh? What are you talking about? We're divorced, you know? What? No way. I didn't know. What do you mean? You can't get a divorce without Steve's consent, can you? My husband and mother-in-law were panicking. I had already prepared the divorce papers and submitted them. I would not let these terrible people inherit a single penny from my father's estate. My name is Amy. I am currently 34 years old and work as a care worker in a nearby nursing home. My husband, Steve, is 4 years older and manages a real estate office. We met at a mixer organized by an acquaintance. At that time, I was 29 and beginning to feel anxious about getting married soon. Invited by a friend, I attended the mixer. Amy, just drink, drink. I'm not good with alcohol. Come on, it's fine. You'll feel good once you're drunk, right? Have a drink. The men were clamoring, making me feel disgusted. And I excused myself to use the restroom and stepped outside for some fresh air. There, the kind man who came next to me with a water bottle and said, "Are you okay? I'll handle things here, so why don't you head home for today?" What? When I looked up in surprise, the kind person speaking to me was none other than Steve. He then kindly carried my things, gave me taxi fare, and let me go home. In fact, even at the mixer, he was the only one not getting overly excited. Leaning against the wall by himself. He was kind that day. I thought I would never meet him again. But later, while taking a break at a cafe near my workplace, I ran into Steve by chance. Oh, from that time, you're Amy, right? It made me a bit happy that he remembered my name even though he looked so uninterested on the day of the mixer. Oh, yes. I'm Amy. You're Steve, right? You remembered my name. Yes, I'm Steve. Do you come to this cafe often? I'm glad you remembered my name too. This is the closest cafe to my workplace, so I often take breaks here. Oh, I see. Actually, this is also close to my workplace. What a coincidence. And just like that, we ended up sitting at the same table and talking together. From that day on, he was often at the cafe, and we chatted during breaks. About a year after meeting him, we started to see each other as more than friends and began dating. The relationship went smoothly, and last year, on our second anniversary, Steve proposed, and we got married. I was looking forward to our happy days together from then on. However, one day, Steve mentioned that his mother would be visiting our house. My mom is coming to visit today. Huh? Your mother? And just then, the doorbell rang. Oh. Look, here she comes. Steve greeted his mother with a smile. Despite approaching middle age, he was thrilled just because his mother came over. He had always been like that during our dating period, being a super mommy's boy. He even got his current job through his mother's connections, climbing his way up to store manager. I liked Steve, but that was the one aspect of him that turned me off. Steve, long time no see. Mom, thank you for coming all the way here. Come on in. Oh, Amy is here, too? She said with an overtly displeased look. My mother-in-law, 68 years old, lives on a pension. She has a daughter and a son, Steve. She divorced when Steve was still in elementary school and raised her children as a single mother. Her daughter is married and lives far away in New York, so they rarely meet. But Steve and his mother often keep in touch, visiting each other's homes at least once a month. She loves her son so much that she always looks displeased when she sees me. Probably thinking I've taken her son away. Long time no see. Is there something special today? What? Can't I come if there's no reason? Yes, of course. You can come anytime. But since today is the start of the Easter holiday, I wondered if something was up. Right. That day marks the beginning of the Easter vacation. It was supposed to be the first major holiday since I married Steve. And I had been planning since yesterday to go to the beach or take a day trip somewhere. Since it's Easter, I've come to stay over. Oh, you're staying over from today? How long will you be here? Maybe until the last day of the Easter holiday. Where are we going today? Well, there seems to be a festival at the nearby park today with fireworks. Let's go together. They excitedly discussed it, completely ignoring me. She's staying over for the entire Easter holiday? Wait, Steve. I didn't know about this. Didn't you say we were going out just the two of us today? Oh, didn't I say? I plan to go out with not just us, but Mom too. What, with her? And you're telling me this all of a sudden? I don't even have a place prepared for her to sleep. I tried to indirectly tell him to stop, but he was oblivious. Just use the empty room for sleeping. I'll go buy some blankets now. And Mom will cook for us, so you can take a break from household chores during Easter, Amy. It's not about wanting a break from chores. I tried to resist, but to no avail. What? Amy, do you really mind that much if I stay over?
Yeah.
That's awful of you. No. I didn't mean it like that. I could only deny it, but inside, I was thinking, of course I hate it. And so, my mother-in-law ended up staying over every day during Easter. All right, I'm off to buy some blankets. Then, he ran out of the house. Left alone with my mother-in-law, I was truly fed up with his selfish actions. The following day, I suggested excitedly. This place is nice, isn't it? Let's go together tomorrow. To which Steve happily replied. Oh. That sounds great. Mom would love it here too. And from then on, he began bringing his mother along on all our dates. Ultimately, during the Easter holiday, I couldn't spend any quiet time alone with my husband nor go out with just the two of us. However, that day was the last day of those days. Although it was sad that the long-awaited Easter holiday was ending, I was happier thinking that my mother-in-law would be leaving. As she was packing her bags to leave, saying, "Thank you for having me here for so long," Steve suddenly exclaimed, "Huh, Mom, you're leaving? You know what? You should just live here from now on." Which was a great shock to me. I almost exploded at Steve, but instead, my mother-in-law, her eyes shining, joyfully responded. Really? I can't believe my son would suggest such a thing. I am really glad I have a good son like you. Trying to stop her, I said. Wait a minute, please. And I turned to Steve. Steve. Why are you deciding this on your own? Listen to my opinion too. What? What's the problem now? You're not planning to send Mom back to live alone again, are you? Being told all of a sudden. It's obviously going to be problematic because we have our own lives too. Calm down for a moment. Were you always such an unpleasant person? Anyway, Mom is going to live with us from today, so don't interfere. Hearing her son's words, my mother-in-law seemed very pleased. Then, I'll pack my things right away and move here. She said that cheerfully and left the house. I've always been the type who struggles to voice my opinions. But with these two, communication was even more impossible. Hours later, my mother-in-law arrived at our home with loads of luggage. And so, we started living together, somewhat forcefully. The days that followed were the worst. When I returned from work, the dining table was set for two. Excuse me, but what's this about? You don't have a meal prepared, so go buy something from the store. She was clearly harassing me, and even nagged me daily, saying, "You should leave the house soon." I finally asked, "You really hate me, don't you? Have I done something to make you dislike me?" "Yes, I absolutely hate you." "Not that you did anything specific. It's just your existence that I dislike." "My existence? You are trying to monopolize Steve." "Oh, so detestable." And she tried to drive me away. I reached my limit and decided to persuade Steve to reconsider living with his mother. "I can't take this anymore. Your mother keeps harassing me and is always so snide. I can't live with her anymore." "What? Stop being so annoying. It's you who's taking a bad attitude." "What? Me? That's not true at all. I've been quietly enduring whatever is said." "You're lying. Mom complained to me about your bad attitude. I believed that you wouldn't do such things, but your words today proved me wrong." "You believe her over me?" "Of course. You're the worst. If you love your mother so much, you should have married her." I regretted my words as soon as they slipped out, but to my astonishment, Steve casually replied, "If she wasn't my mother, I would have married her." "Are you serious?" I was completely taken aback by his remark. "Anyway, if you speak ill of Mom again, it's divorce, okay?" "What? Divorce?" "Yes, that's right. What is he even talking about? Why doesn't he care about me at all? Look, I've had the divorce papers ready for a while. If you say you can't live with Mom, then it's divorce." Saying that, he threw the already filled out divorce papers on the floor. I couldn't believe he had prepared them. While I was enduring harassment from my mother-in-law, Steve was using the divorce papers as a threat to keep me living with her. All right. I understand. I'll leave this house starting today. Let's take some time to rethink things.
Yeah.
Cool off for a while. And somehow, I was the one being blamed. I could have submitted the divorce papers right away as he threatened during our argument. But making such a decision in the heat of the moment didn't seem right. Moreover, my father was very happy about my marriage as his only daughter. I couldn't sadden him, so I chose to separate temporarily rather than divorce immediately. I hoped that with time, my husband and his mother would reconsider their actions. The following day, I returned to my parents' house and explained the situation to my father. My sudden return surprised him, but he said, "Are you okay? Don't overdo it. As long as you are happy being yourself, that's all we want. Here, don't be down for too long, have some meat." "Eat meat." Saying that, he offered me my favorite food, trying to comfort me in his awkward way. "Thank you." "Oh, it's so delicious," I said, crying as I ate. My father, who runs a famous steak restaurant with many branches, is a successful entrepreneur. My mother passed away from cancer last year, so he now lives alone. Since I was young, despite working from morning till night and having busy days, he always took me to amusement parks, aquariums, or parks on his days off and played with me a lot. I loved my father for being capable, kind, and tough. About 2 weeks after separating from Steve, my father came home with a somber face. "What's wrong?" "Actually, I've been diagnosed with stomach cancer." "Really? Cancer? Why? Why now, Dad? I'm sorry, Amy. Just after losing your mother last year, and now this. He said, showing uncharacteristic weakness. But, treatment can cure it, right? No, it seems to have spread elsewhere already. That's so sad. It's a tough time for you with the separation and all. Sorry for bothering you. It doesn't matter about me. Why? Why does it have to be you, Dad? I broke down in tears. However, fortunately, I'm a care worker, and now that I'm separated, I've decided to dedicate myself to supporting my father until the day he passes. A few days later, Steve repeatedly called. I called back right away. What do you want now? Why haven't you come back yet? It's been over 2 weeks. Come back soon. Dad's been diagnosed with cancer. From today, I'll be taking care of him. So I won't be returning. Huh? Fine. I have my mom here anyway. Come back when he dies. Steve ignored my depression and made that awful comment. I thought, huh? Fine. Come back when he dies? Every word is just so cruel. Was this really the man I married? I felt like something inside me snapped. After that, I took a break from work and cherished the time with my father. Amy. Thank you for everything you do for your old man every day. What are you talking about? When I was little, you took care of me every day, didn't you? It's no different now. I'm happy we can live together again. You really turned out to be such a kind person. I'm a lucky father. Amy, you must find happiness too. Dad, thank you. I'm glad you're my father. A few days later, my father passed away. I was too busy to even grieve properly, rushing through the wake and the funeral. While I was sorting through my father's belongings, Steve kept calling. I didn't want to talk to him and ignored his calls, but he was persistent. Finally, I blocked his number. Honestly, I couldn't care less about that mama's boy anymore. Then, suddenly, the doorbell rang. When I checked the intercom, Steve and his mother were there. What? Why are you here? You weren't answering your phone. I came all this way to see you. I didn't want to think about it anymore. My father has passed away. What Steve said next was far from comforting, just cruel. Oh, he did have cancer. So the old man finally kicked the bucket, huh? He was such a kind father. I really loved him. Wait, didn't your mom also pass away recently? That means all of your dad's inheritance comes to you, right? Lucky us. Now we can finally get the inheritance. Maybe we should go on a trip? That sounds great. We could use that money for a family trip to maybe France? Are you serious? What are you talking about? Your father was a businessman, quite wealthy, right? With the inheritance, we could probably travel around France for a week, huh? As I sobbed in sadness, not receiving a single word of kindness. They joyously assumed they could inherit everything. These two, whom I hadn't seen in a while, were still the same despicable pair. It was time to set this delusional duo straight with the truth. Huh? What are you talking about? We are divorced, you know? What? That means Steve and I are now strangers. So, Steve, you won't get a penny of my father's inheritance. That's right. It was those words from my father, telling me to find happiness, that had driven me to decide on the divorce. I had resolved to find happiness, for both my deceased mother and father. I was certain that my happiness would not be found with my husband and mother-in-law. No way. I didn't hear about that. When did you file for divorce? What do you mean? You can't divorce without Steve's consent. Stop lying. They were in a panic. Steve, have you forgotten? You gave me the divorce papers, all signed. After a moment, Steve muttered, "Oh." As if he finally remembered. That divorce was just a joke. It was just to scare you a bit. Did you really submit it to the law office? Of course, I did. With people like you, I just didn't want to see your faces anymore. It was truly right to divorce. What? Steve. Why did you give her that? We were about to plan a trip because the inheritance was coming soon. What about our vacation abroad now? She said that, shaking Steve's shoulder. Oh really? You planned that? You're truly despicable. It was so hard for me when my father died. To think you were waiting for his death. I'm sorry. But about the inheritance, you could share just a little, right? Are you stupid? It's already in my name, and there's no way I'm giving any to someone like you. Don't say that. That's too harsh. Harsh? Who's really being harsh here? They weren't expecting me to raise my voice. Steve and his mother flinched for a moment. I've been in agony living with you both for so long. Finally free, and now what? You want the inheritance. It's just disgusting. Get out of this house right now. I exploded in anger. Realizing their defeat, my husband and his mother left dejectedly. Later, they blamed each other. It's because of your harassment that Amy left. My fault. You're the one who wrote the divorce papers to scare her. What? My fault? Who do you think allowed us to live in this house in the first place? Their arguments continued, leading to their estrangement. And she moved out to live in a small apartment on her pension. As for Steve, he lost his job in real estate, which he got through his mother's contacts, due to their falling out. Originally unable to do anything by himself. He lost his job just because his mom wasn't there. How pathetic. Now, he's living a meager life, juggling part-time jobs. As for me, I've fallen in love with a younger male colleague at work. Amy. Would you like to have dinner together today, please? He asked awkwardly. As clumsy as the invitation was, I accepted. I'd love to. You've made a reservation, right? Of course. You said you like meat, right? I've booked a steak place. A steak for our first date? Not very romantic. Please don't say the. He pleaded as he moved closer to me. I couldn't help but find this younger man adorable. Mom, Dad. This time, I will definitely find happiness. And so, I spoke to my parents in heaven.